What's up guys, TopTierYugioh here, and today I've got some duels between Trickstars and Magicians. And so, SPYRALs and Magicians are undoubtedly the top two decks of the format right now. And so if you're playing anything else, like Trickstars, you need to prepare for both of those two matchups. And so if you're interested in seeing Trickstars versus SPYRALs, I did some duels and I'll put a link to that in the top right corner of the screen. If you're interested in Trickstars versus Magicians, then you've come to the right place. And while you're in the right place, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And this video is actually requested by one of my favorite subscribers, and so if you have any other requests, definitely leave them down below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these duels. I've got 3 matches, best of 3 style pretty much, and so let's get into the first one. And so in this first duel, I'm going to be going first using Trickstars, and I have 1 Candina, 2 LYCORIS, Gameciel, and a DROLL. And so of course I'm going to start by just summoning Candina, search Reincarnation since I already have the LYCORISes. I don't want to search a light stage because light stage doesn't give me anything I don't already have, versus me being able to search Reincarnation for a little bit of defense along with the DROLL. And so maybe I get the DROLL Reincarnation combo off, that'd be pretty awesome. Then I'm going to just go ahead and summon both of the LYCORISes. Now on my opponent's turn, he knows I have Reincarnation, so he's obviously going to play around and he's not going to just summon the Joker first. I mean, like, he's not an idiot. And so he summons the Joker last after Pendulum summoning, so there really isn't much I can do with the DROLL, but I do the DROLL Reincarnation play when I can. It doesn't really do much. I mean, I banish a Wisdom Eye, and I sort of have to do it there because it's like he will never search again while he has more cards than just one, pretty much. And so I might as well banish one. It is a Wisdom Eye. And so he sort of baited me with that, like by forcing that play. Like if it were something like a Black Fang Magician or something not as good, I maybe don't do it, but because I do it there, I have to. I mean, because it's a Wisdom Eye, I like have to. So then now he doesn't have to worry about that later on in the duel. And so he made a pretty good play, and he's able to attack for a large amount of damage and then go into a Time Star Magician. So even though he can't search this turn, he recognizes that Trickstars do have problems dealing with larger monsters, so he's going to be able to search on his next turn while still having those 2 other monsters. And so I draw into a light stage, summon Candina, get Lilybell, summon Lilybell, and I did have a couple of options here. Like I could have Kaiju the Time Star Magician and then went into Akashic to bounce it back to my hand, Kaiju something else maybe, or just hold the Kaiju for later, but that doesn't deal with the problem being that he still has scales and he still has monsters. And so I realize I can't really do much in this situation, so I just attack direct, add back LYCORIS, summon both LYCORISes, and then try to make a play from there, but it's just not enough that I can really do at this point. So I just sort of go into a board load and hope he can't deal with it, although he does have a double iris, which will eventually allow him to search the trap, which outs board load. So this game is pretty much unwinnable from the get-go, and it's sort of one of the things you have to recognize when playing Trickstars. Like if you're in an actual tournament, I wouldn't even waste time playing this out because you know he has double iris, which can search the trap, you know he has full scales, and you know he has a Time Star, pretty much. So like what can you do? Or even if you Kaiju Time Star, he still has a Kaiju, so he can put more damage on board, and you're already at pretty low life points. Now I think he forgets that I'm at low life points because he goes all out, but you know, regardless, like the game is over. If you're in a tournament, definitely scoop before your opponent gets a chance to do all that, unless you're trying to like get information on their deck. And so let's go ahead and get into game 2. And in every game in these matches, like across all 3 matches, I always choose to go second against Magicians. And the reason for that is I think that Magicians are better going second than Trickstars are going first. And so with a standard like average hand with Trickstars, you're maybe going to have Reincarnation, like one other disruption, and that's it. And I think that Magicians are very good at playing through that. Like Reincarnation isn't that good against them, and so there really aren't many other hand traps that are good against them either, so it's really hard to stop them. So pretty much you have to depend on cards such as Anti-Spell or anything else like that, Barrier, when you're going first. But I just don't think that's the best course of action because they're outs of that. Like they're going to side in their Cyclones, their Twin Twisters, even Psyframe Epsilon. So there's so many outs of those cards that I think it's better for me to go second and then break their board with cards like Evenly Matched, because I think Evenly Matched is just generally better than everything else. Like I think Evenly Matched is just insane versus them, and it makes it really hard for them to play. Versus going first, them having a 6th card, so they're able to play more, and then them breaking their board and killing you immediately. And so that's another thing. Like if they go second, they can usually kill you, and that's very, very scary. And so this is what I side against them whenever I'm going second. Again, I chose to go second every single time, and he chose to go first every time. So it worked out pretty well for me, and for I guess him as well, because he wants to go first so he doesn't lose the cards like anti-spell and whatnot. And I'm sure he's siding in cards like Mind Crush or Solemn Scolding to deal with evenly matched. And so what I sided in were the 3 Cyframe Gammas, of course the driver, 3 Magical Springs, and 3 evenly matched. And so I really like Gamma because it stops the monsters, like it stops Harmonizing Magician, which is big, but also on my own turn it can stop some of his hand traps, because I'm assuming he's going to think he's going second, so he's going to side in hand traps, like he's going to have Droll, he might have like Ash or things like that, and so I can sort of make him play into the Gamma at times. And so I really like Gamma for those reasons, but also again, it's something else that negates Harmonizing or any other monster effect. So I can negate an Omega sometimes. That's really big, because a lot of times dealing with Omega is very hard for Trickstars, because it's 2800 and it leaves the board sometimes, so it's really hard to deal with because it'll just dodge certain things. So I really like Gamma a lot. Magical Springs is really good because it draws you extra cards, making your deck more consistent, so that you draw into your cards like evenly matched, which is really your win condition against Trickstars when you're going second, because it doesn't matter what they do. Like if they build a board, the fact that you're going to clear at least 2 scales and probably 1 or 2 other cards makes it so insanely powerful. Like I don't think I've ever evenly matched Pendulums and then still lost. Like, maybe like once, but not very often. And so what I side out in this matchup is I side out both of the Ghost Ogres, because Ghost Ogre doesn't do shit against them. Like, again, they're not going to play around it because they're expecting you not to play it, and also they know it doesn't do anything, but it doesn't do anything. Like, you can maybe hit a Wisdom Eye or something, but they probably have like an Astrograph or, you know, so what? It doesn't do much. Droll is good against them, but I felt that Droll kind of conflicts with evenly matched, to where like Droll's going to stop them from playing, but I want them to play into the evenly, and so I don't really like Droll as much, and it's the last thing I would take out compared to everything else, because Droll is still good against them, and you still can do the Droll Reincarnation thing, but it isn't as likely when you're going second. But I just think the other thing with Droll is that when you Droll them, the only difference is that instead of making like a time star to search for their next turn, they make a Baguska. And then dealing with Baguska is hard already, so it's like, I don't want them making Baguska, I'd rather you make a time star and search. And so that's another reason why I side out Droll. I side out the Kaijus because against Magicians, it's not usually their monsters that beat you, it's like their traps. I mean, their monsters will beat you, but their monsters don't play on your turn, the trap does. And so you just really need to stop the trap, which is why I keep in the Cosmic Cyclones. I side out a LYCORIS because LYCORIS isn't very good going second. Like, it's good, but you don't necessarily need it. Like, the deck can function just fine with 2, you still have all the light stage, you still have Candina, you're good with 2. And then I side out both of the, or not both, but 2 of the Reincarnations, because again, you're going second, and you don't want to answer an established board with a trap. And although it is like a reactive extender, it takes a while to get to that point where it can extend your plays, meaning it has to get to the graveyard first. And so I've really enjoyed this side out plan versus Magicians going second. So let's go ahead and get into this second game. Alright, so game 2, we opened up, let's see, 2 Lilybell, Candina, Golem, and Ash. He opens up Wisdom Eye, Purple Poison, Oath Dragon, Harmonizing, and Ash as well. Of course, I don't know this at the time, but you know. And unfortunately, he doesn't really have much of a play, because he can't Pendulum summon anything significant, because Purple Poison's a 1 scale, Oath Dragon's a 1 scale, which will require him to put Harmonizing in scale to summon either of the others. And you don't want to just Pendulum summon just a Harmonizing or just a Purple Poison. He does have the Wavering Eyes, which is decent, but not significant enough. So he just sets the Purple Poison passes. It's going to give him, you know, a body that's 2100. Again, that's hard for Trickstars to deal with. And he has the Ash. And so on my turn, I summon the Candina, which he Ashes. And I really can't do much after that. Like, I do have the option of making a Grinder Golem play. Wait, no, a normal summon. No, I couldn't have made a Grinder Golem play. So yeah, and he only has 1 card, so evenly matches dead too. There just really isn't much I can do here. He draws in the Pot of Desires, activates it, I Ash it, so again, he still can't play. But let's go ahead and see what he Ashes. And so he banished, let's see, a Purple Poison, Wisdom Eye, Double Iris Joker, second Iris. That's fine. Nothing significant, so he's still able to play just fine. Doesn't really matter. And now on my turn, I'm going to draw into a second evenly matched, which sucks. But so I just go ahead and pass because I can't attack over the Purple Poison. And I do have another option, that is using Grinder Golem this turn, but I ultimately didn't want to because I don't have enough for game pretty much. And so there isn't very much value in just making a big monster, especially when he has Purple Poison, which he can use to destroy whatever I summon. So the only real option here would have been to make a either Firewall to add it back to his hand, but that obviously sucks, or to make a Boar Load. And if I make a Boar Load, it really puts him in a position to where if he gets access to the trap, then like I just lose that Grinder Golem, and it becomes very tough for me to win this game at that point. Versus if I just hold it, then eventually he's gonna have to make a board and play, and then I can hit him with the evenly matched, and then use the Grinder Golem afterwards. So I felt that that was probably the best play, especially because yeah, if I use Grinder Golem, then I can't use evenly matched until they clear it. Now another option would be to have summoned the Lilybell, go into a Holly Angel, and I can't do anything this turn, but then next turn I'd be able to attack direct with a second Lilybell, add back the Candina, and then get my engine going again pretty much. Because right now I can't do anything with my engine because I have a Candina on the board, and like no way to add it back to hand, no way to search another one. So my engine is pretty much stopped until he deals with the Candina. So on his turn he draws into a Joker though, and at that point, yeah, he's able to play. So he searches a Wisdom Eye, goes ahead and Pendulum summons the Harmonizing Magician, uses that, and he goes into an Omega. And Omega is really good against this deck because it clears itself from their board. So when you evenly match them, they still get the Omega back. You still have to deal with it. It's very difficult. And so I don't really like dealing with Omega very much. So then he goes ahead and uses the Wavering Eye. That's going to allow him to search the trap. He gets an Astrograph. Oh, he goes for the spell actually, but again he gets an Astrograph, and so he has Spell, Wisdom Eye in hand. So I didn't know this at the time, but I think looking at it now, he was trying to play around evenly matched. And so even if I cleared his board, like he has a 2 level 4 monster, so he can make a Baguska. He cleared his scales. He has an Astrograph for damage, and it's big. And then on his whenever he wants to play again, he can just he has the spell and Wisdom Eye, so he can make a big play whenever he wants later on in the game. So I think he actually made a very good play. Now what he did wrong in this case was he got greedy and he tried to attack with the Omega first and do the maximum amount of damage he could have possibly done, which I don't necessarily blame him for, but I know it's easy to think like, oh, evenly match is something that happens on your opponent's turn, so he didn't play around it on this turn, and that's how I got him in this game. So I used the evenly match on his turn. He leaves the Omega and then banishes it, so he has no cards on field, but again he still has those 2 cards in his hand to play on his next turn whenever he has a next turn. And so I draw into Candina, I normal summon it, and I use it to search a Reincarnation because I know those cards are in his hand. I set it, pass. He gets back the Omega. Oh, and Omega had banished a Lilybell, by the way, so when Lilybell returns to my hand, I can summon it. And that's actually really huge because that gives me another body, and I'm only at 1900. So that was very huge. Good thing I played 2, higher chance of him banishing 1. So he attacks into the Lilybell, and then on my turn, he uses the Omega to add something back to the graveyard, a double Iris. And then I'm able to get my engine going again because I drew into a light stage. And so then I go into a Break Sword to pretty much bait the Omega's effect so he has a clear board. Knowing I have Reincarnation in the graveyard, or I can get it in the graveyard, I'm going to be able to get back Lilybell pretty much. And it doesn't even matter that he negated it. I only needed Reincarnation in the graveyard so that I could summon back the Lilybell and push for more damage. And so it ends up allowing me to put just enough damage on board so that when he draws a card for his turn, it's going to kill him with the Lilybell effect. So that was actually very convenient for me. I definitely didn't plan that ahead of time, but if you're a good Trickstar player, then you probably could. And so that just worked out very well for me. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to game 3. He starts by activating a Pot of Desires and then normal summoning Joker. Let's go ahead and look at what he banished off the Desires. And again, of course, I don't know this playing against him, but just so we can analyze, this game a little bit better. And so he banished 3 Harmonizing, 3 double Iris Magicians, which is very, very tough. And so he makes... I don't know if he did this because he knew he didn't have a play, like he knows he can't search the trap in any way, shape, or form. He knows he doesn't have access to Harmonizing, and so it's like, what can you do on your turn 1 without those cards outside of like Baguska pass? But I think he also wanted to play around evenly matched after that last game. Like he knows I play evenly matched, so by just summoning a Joker, which is already hard for me to get over, he plays around evenly matched because he doesn't have anything else. And then he still has those 2 Astrograph Sorcerers, so he's able to pretty much put big monsters on board on his next turn and then kill me like that. So I think that was sort of his game plan looking back at it now. But at the time I was like, man, what is this guy doing? Like, is he just playing evenly matched? Like, I didn't know he banished those other cards, which is unfortunate for him. And so then for my turn, I draw into a Pot of Desires. So first I want to get the LYCORIS out of my deck. Not LYCORIS, but the Lilybell out of my deck because I have Grinder Golem, and I need that to win with the Grinder Golem if I'm going to go that route. And so then I Desires into an evenly matched and an Ash, so pretty good. And then as for what I banished off of my desires, I just banished like a couple of hand traps, and yeah, I left Droll in this game on accident, but yeah. So I just banished like nothing significant really. And so I pretty much have to crash with the Joker and then add the Candina back to my hand with the Lilybell. I thought it was a pretty good play because having the Candina in hand next turn will let me start my engine again. But I didn't expect him having an Astrograph, which is very, very tough for me to deal with. And so the Reincarnation deals with another Astrograph, which is good, but it gives him a brand new hand, which pretty much allows him to play again. And it just wasn't good enough. And that's why I don't really like Reincarnation against this deck, because you give them a brand new hand. And then giving them a brand new hand is very, very good for them, actually, especially if they didn't draw very well the first time. And so it pretty much allows them to put some big monsters on board and attack for a large amount of damage. It isn't enough for game, however, and because I have the cards on board, I can't use evenly matched, but I do have Scapegoat to protect myself from losing. And it was actually tough to figure out like when I should use the Scapegoat here. Like, should I have used it earlier to prevent more damage and then have the tokens to play next turn? Because I already have the Grinder Golem anyway, so I'm going to be able to play next turn. Or do I do it earlier so that he can't do as much damage? And, you know, he ends up going to a Bagooska anyways and has the trap. And so it was very tough for me anyways. And so I go into Linkuriboh and Proxy Dragon because the goal is to at least try to force the trap, or if he doesn't have the trap, to out the Bagooska with a Ningirsu. But see, he actually makes a very good play here, and instead of using the trap to destroy the Ningirsu that I'm gonna summon, and then because he's gonna destroy Purple Poison Magician, he can destroy something else. So instead of destroying my Light Stage instead, he uses it to destroy the Linkuriboh and the Proxy Dragon. And so what this does is it keeps a card on my side of the field, so I can't use Evenly Matched. And so pretty much I can't use Evenly Matched. The rest of this turn is trying to get rid of my entire field so that I can. And so I go ahead and try to use some Grinder Golem plays, but I go into a second Ningirsu and I get rid of the token. And then I'm like, how do I get rid of the Ningirsu now? And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can crash into something, but oh wait, his monsters are in defense, so I can't crash. And so I end up just going into like a Firewall, and I realize I can't do much more in this case. Like, even summoning a second Grinder Golem, it just doesn't do anything. And I think it would have been different maybe if I played a second Firewall, then I could have maybe made a couple of more plays, but it just wasn't significant enough. And something I could have done better, I kind of punted when I realized I couldn't do Evenly Matched. Like, no way. I should have summoned the Decode Talker in the other link zone. That way it would have had more attack, but again, it doesn't matter because he just could attack over the token, then attack over the Decode Talker, and he has the trap too, so the trap's gonna out like anything that I do anyways. And so again, he's able to just use that trap to control the game. He summons a Starving Venom to copy the Ningirsu, use that to out the Decode because it doesn't target, and then he kills me. He didn't even need to summon Starving Venom. I think he just likes that card. But regardless, so the Magician player takes the first match. I wouldn't say convincingly, but you know, pretty well. That game 3 probably could have been better. I should have recognized the possibility of drawing into Evenly Matched and then not search the Light Stage, because Light Stage is like something that conflicts with Evenly Matched. It's something that's really hard to get off your board, and if you can't really use Evenly Matched as efficiently. And so I should have thought that through more, because if I literally didn't have that Light Stage on the board, then I evenly match him and probably win the game, because I still have the Grinder Golems. But because I had that Light Stage up, I couldn't do any of that. And the only thing that Light Stage got for me was searching the Lilybell, which I could have gotten off the Candina anyways. And so that was something I should have had more foresight in. So let's go ahead and move on to the next match. I'm going to be going second. He goes first. He uses a Pot of Desires, which I am going to droll. But again, let's go ahead and check out what he banished. And so he banishes one trap, one Pendulum Magician, Sorcerer guy, Form Pile guy, can't think of the name. He banished a Black Fang, a Harmonizing, Joker, nothing significant, just pretty much one of 3 ofs, so it doesn't really matter. He's perfectly able to play, but he can't search. And so he pretty much is just going to Pendulum Summon 2, go into the Bagooska, and pass. And so that's exactly what I was talking about in my siding plan. I don't really like Droll against this matchup because they just make Bagooska pass, and you still have to deal with Bagooska, which is hard. Now, thankfully for me, I have Grinder Golem and a couple of other things to make it a little bit easier, but most Trickstar decks don't. And so I go ahead and summon the Gofu, knowing it's going to be negated, just so I have another link material so that I can destroy the Light Stage to destroy the Bagooska, rather than having to destroy itself, or send itself to the graveyard to out the Bagooska. But then I actually realized that instead of outing the Bagooska, I can out a Scale, and then make him change Bagooska to attack, then have to get rid of his own Bagooska to really do anything. But that was probably a misplay. I probably should have outed the Bagooska, but I felt that at least it was clogging his Pendulum zone, and I knew he has like 4 cards in hand, and so yeah, I'm thinking he's probably going to be able to play anyways. So it doesn't like hurt him getting rid of the Bagooska, but getting rid of a scale maybe kind of can hurt him. Like, it forces him to have the right scale, versus, you know, outing the Bagooska, he just still plays. And so he pretty much he ends with a Decode Talker, Time Star, and a Black Fang. I used to scapegoat the block attacks, which I hate doing, but I figure I kind of have to, and I know he has the trap set, and so it's like, normally in this situation, if he doesn't have the trap, I would have been able to do the Firewall loop, but because he has the trap, I know he can just destroy Firewall. So I'm pretty much going through this turn like thinking, how can I bait the trap pretty much? And I go into Akashic Magician because I know that it's going to out the Decode Talker regardless, but it was just tough, like thinking like, how am I going to out this trap? Like, what can I do so that the trap doesn't just destroy me, because I don't have an out to the trap. So I don't think this game was really winnable for me. If you think it was, let me know in the comment section below what you think the best play would have been, because I didn't see it, and I still don't see it. But let's go ahead and move on to game 2. Once again, we are going to be choosing to go second like we do every single game, and it looks like he chose to go second, but unfortunately for him, he's going first. Like, he thought he was going second, so it looks like he sided in Drolls, because I don't think many Magician players main deck Droll. So, you know, that kind of sucks for him, and he didn't really draw a very playable hand. So he just sets scales and tries to use Sorcerer to destroy one of his scales and search a Joker, but I ash that, which really leaves him in an awkward position. I go ahead and activate the Desires, which he's going to Droll. And so let's check out what I banished, and I banished a Candina, Light Stage, Lyco, and that's about it. Nothing really important, so I'm still able to play very, very well. And I do have the Gamma to negate the Droll, which is crazy. Like, that's perfect. But then he has a second Droll to chain, so I still can't search this turn. And so, regardless, I have 2 Grinder Golems. So I'm able to do a lot of pretty ridiculous plays. So I activate the Akashic to bounce it back. And again, just pretty much go through all of these plays. Double Grinder Golem usually gets you a very strong board. I'm able to use Firewall to bounce both Grinder Golems back to my hand, summon both of them again, and just do crazy stuff. Now, it gets to a point where in this deck, because of the way the extra deck is structured, they're very diminishing returns on that, because there isn't enough to summon. Like, if I played a second Firewall, then I could have made a couple of more plays, but knowing that after summoning it again, there's not really much I can do. And even with the extra Grinder Golem in my hand, I can't really do much with that. And so I kind of just left it there just in case I need it later on in the game. I used Ningirsu to out one of the scales, so it sort of forces him to have to draw the correct scale on his next turn because he doesn't have a hand. And, you know, he draws an Astrograph, which is perfect for him, and then he's able to summon Pendulum Sorcerer one more time, which I do have the Ash for. So unfortunate for him, but, you know, that game's a blowout. Like, if you were able to summon Gamma on your turn, negating a Droll, and then have double Grinder Golem, yeah, that's gonna be tough for anybody to win against, especially since he didn't open very well to start with. And so game 2, again, we're going to be going second. He's going to go first, and again, he didn't open very well at all. He has 2 Oath Dragons, Harmonizing, and Scolding, and the Trap. And Scolding, I'm sort of mixed on. Like, of course, I don't know he has a Scolding. I'm like, what could those 2 back row be? It's probably the Trap and, like, yeah, who knows, like a spell or something. But I'm thinking, like, looking at it now, like, Scolding is good against Trickstars. Like, it stops evenly matched, but that's about it. Like, otherwise, it is not the deck you want to spend 3,000 life points against, because it's a burn deck. And so that's pretty tricky for him, actually. And so on my turn, I have 2 Lycos, 2 Light Stage, Candina, and Grinder Golem Gamma. And so I activate both the Light Stages. He's going to activate his trap but not use the effect. I go ahead and summon Candina and LYCORIS and attack for a little bit of damage. And I actually forget to use Light Stage, the second Light Stage, on the other back row. Like, I don't know, I guess, like, I just forgot. But he doesn't use it anyways, and so that was weird. Like, me playing the game, I didn't know what that was. I assumed it was just some spell that he couldn't use. I didn't think that it was like a Scolding, and I think he realized that he shouldn't use the Scolding. Like, it doesn't do enough versus the Trickstar engine itself, and then it cost him 3,000 life points. And so I sort of get why he didn't use it. And so on his turn, he activates a Pot of Desires, and it doesn't look like he banished anything significant either. but he also doesn't draw into anything significant either. He draws into a Joker and a second Scolding, but I don't think that's enough to win him. I don't think that's enough to win him the game. And then he misclicks and puts the Joker in a Pendulum scale. And so, I mean, I don't think he could have won, but I'm interested what you guys think. So, do you think this game was winnable for the Pendulum player? Like, if he has Joker, double Iris, and that's it, is he able to win this game at only 1,600 life points to my 8,000? I don't think it was. I think the best he does with his hand is maybe like summon Joker, get a second scale, and he's gonna be able to Pendulum summon one monster from his extra deck, and then he can maybe make like a Baguska or something. But I just don't think that does enough. Like, well, actually, I guess now that I think about it, maybe, because like I would have to do the Grinder Golem play to out it, and then he can negate the Grinder Golem, not negate the Grinder Golem, but he could destroy it with the trap, and then that would kind of leave me in an awkward position. It really depends on what I draw, actually. Yeah, it's too hard to predict at this point, but let me know what you guys think. Do you think this game was winnable? I'll put a poll in the top right corner of the screen. Let me know. I'm pretty curious about what you guys think. But regardless, I was able to win this match, and so the Magician player won the first match, Trickstars won the second match. We got to do a tiebreaker. Like, we have to figure out which deck is better, or which deck is better today at least. And so we got to do a third match, and so let's go ahead and get into that. And so in this third match, I'm gonna be going first. I want to die roll. I opened a pretty decent hand with Light Stage, Candina, Ash, Lilybell, and Reincarnation. Because I already have Reincarnation, I'm going to go ahead and use the Light Stage to search a Lilybell, or I'm sorry, a LYCORIS, and then use the Candina to search a Reincarnation. Doing it in that order means that if he has Droll, I still have pretty much all the cards out of my deck, versus if I use Candina to search Reincarnation, then he Drolls, I still don't have a LYCORIS. And then you don't want to use the Candina to search LYCORIS because you already have a Light Stage that can do that, and then you pretty much would rather have more Reincarnations than more LYCORISes. And so I felt that this was the correct play in this order. And so I go ahead and set both Reincarnations. I have the LYCORIS and I have the Ash in a pretty good position here. But looking at his hand, it was actually pretty broken. And so he goes ahead and again, he plays around Reincarnation. Like, he knows I have it. I'm obviously not going to just blind it in the standby phase and just give him a brand new hand. That would be ridiculous. And so he goes ahead and sets both of his scales and then Pendulum summons immediately. He doesn't even use the Joker that he has in his hand. And so I have to Ash the Harmonizing pretty much because I can't let that go off. I don't want him to make a bunch of synchro plays. And so pretty much afterwards, he's normal summons his Joker. He still hasn't used the Time Stars effect. And I'm looking at the Time Star and I'm like, I guess I know you have that. I'm not going to Reincarnation against one Harmonizing. And so he just goes to his battle phase, attacks over my monster, does a little bit of damage, and then searches again. So now I again have the option, like, do I use this Reincarnation to get rid of the Astrograph and Harmonizing? Like, what does that do for me right now? Like, is it worth doing? And then, of course, he set those spell cards as well, so I don't know what those are. One of them is possibly the Trap. So what do I do? And then for my turn, I draw a second Candina, which is actually terrible because we already have one. And so I just summon the Candina, use it to search a Lilybell. Lilybell will attack directly and add back a LYCORIS. And then I go ahead and pass turn. And now, I don't know what was up with me today. I guess I kept forgetting to use Light Stage, but I should have used Light Stage on one of the back row. And that would have definitely helped. But again, I didn't think there was really much I could do in this case because he's still able to play. In the end phase, he tries to use a Cosmic Cyclone on the Reincarnation. And I just go ahead and chain it. I was gonna wait till his standby phase to get a little bit more damage in because I was gonna summon the LYCORIS. But you know, this works out the same way. No, it's not the same. It does less damage this way, so he made a good play. And the reason I don't summon the LYCORIS on this turn, like right now, is because I want to be able to bounce the Lilybell back to my hand so Lilybell can trigger. Because if I only end with 2 monsters, I think he might be able to do game because he has his scales, he's able to search next turn. I need to have as many defensive plays as possible, and that means having as many monsters on board as possible. And so because I already used Lilybell's effect to summon herself from the hand, I have to wait until his turn to do it again. And so that was a little bit unfortunate, but it worked out the same either way. And so again, in his draw phase, or not in his draw phase, I don't do anything, but when he summons a Joker, that's when I summon the Lilybell, and then when he searches, it resolves, it burns him, and then I summon the Lilybell back. So I still have one Reincarnation set, just sort of waiting to do what I need to do. I don't use it yet because I didn't think I needed to. I didn't think it would have done anything, and just would have given him 3 more cards to work with, and that's just as bad as him having it, because him having the double Iris doesn't mean anything. And so he just attacks over my monsters. He isn't able to do game pretty much. And I draw into a Cloud of Desires, which was pretty good. I draw into a second Reincarnation. I draw into a Scapegoat. That was nice. And then I banished, let's see, one LYCORIS. Yeah, nothing else significant. One Reincarnation, not bad. And then I use Candina to search a Lyco. I attack into the double Iris just to do a little bit of damage, you know. But he protects it with the Time Star. Then I summon Lyco, attack over it again, just trying to do a little bit of damage, see where it gets me. Because then I realized that he had like a lot of cards in his hand, and I have 2 Reincarnations, so maybe I can burn him for a game. And that's actually what happened. It was crazy. And so I activate the Reincarnation. He didn't have the Ash. He didn't draw into the Ash, and so I banished his hand twice, and it did exactly enough for game. And so that was actually pretty. Like, that sucks for him, actually, because he definitely had control of the game. He definitely would have won otherwise. But that's sort of the thing about playing Trickstars. Like, you have to be careful with your hand size. You have to be careful about how you do things. And him actually protecting the double Iris came back to bite him, because if he had let double Iris go to the graveyard, I wouldn't have been able to deal an extra 300 damage with the Lilybell attack. I'm sorry, the LYCORIS attack. And if he had 300 more life, that wouldn't have killed him. He would have been able to play. And if he's able to play at that point, like, I think he plays around both the LYCORISes, and he probably doesn't kill me through the Scapegoat, but he probably puts himself in a very commanding position in the game, and I think it gives him a really good chance of winning that game. But because he did protect it, you know, it just really worked out in my favor because of that. And I don't think I would have read that. If I was a Magician player, I don't think I would have read that was even possible. Like, I would not have looked that far ahead. And yeah, I think I just got really lucky in that first match. I think I got lucky, and then here I got really lucky with that game. That being exactly game was pretty ridiculous. And so game 2, I'm gonna be going second once again, and he opens not a bad hand, but not a good hand either. Like, he has Baguska, he has the trap, you know, not bad, but not good enough because I do have an evenly matched. And this time he doesn't have the Scolding to protect him. He keeps the Baguska on board, but that doesn't matter. And I go ahead and summon a Lilybell. It gets changed to defense, so I just have, you know, 2,000 defense on board. He draws, can't do anything with 1 card. And on the next turn, I use double Lyco to add back the Lilybell to hand, and then Lilybell summons herself back. Or no, I don't use that effect. I summon a Holly Angel first and then normal summon. So then Holly Angel gets her attack boosted high enough to attack over the Baguska. And then he draws into a play, but I'm able to ash it, so he can't really do anything then. And he just has to pass turn, and pretty much passing on an empty board against Trickstars is certain death because, I mean, even if I didn't draw into the light stage, it would have been game, but I drew into a light stage, which means it's definitely game. And so I search Candina, summon Candina, get Lyco, and then I still have Lilybell, which means I have access to the other Lycos in my graveyard. And again, it's just certain death at this point, and that's unfortunate that he didn't draw very well. And then I drew evenly matched to his bad board. You know, there's really nothing he could do this game, honestly. I don't think there's anything he could have done differently. Maybe hold the Cosmic Cyclone. Like, I get what he was thinking. Like, Cosmic Cyclone is a trap against Trickstars. You set it, you can destroy the light stage, and that does something. Or in the end phase, you can hit a Reincarnation, which is big. But I think holding it gives him at least something against evenly matched. But even then, like, holding a Cosmic Cyclone doesn't do anything for him. And so, yeah, that's just tough. But hey, that's how the matchup goes. Like, evenly matched is really good against Magicians, and so when you draw it, you usually win. And I think that happened in like 2 or 3 of those matches right there. And so I don't want to say that Trickstars are just like better than Magicians, because they're not. They're clearly not. Magicians are clearly the better deck. But with Trickstars, you have to be savvy, and you have to do what you can to give yourself the ability to get lucky. Like, I think, like in that game 1 of the last game, I gave myself a chance to get lucky, and I did. Like, it was exactly game by banishing his hand. He didn't draw an Ash. And like, again, Ash is a 3 of, like, what are the odds he doesn't draw Ash? Like, that's very low. Like, I definitely got lucky, but it's possible. And so that's sort of like how you have to play a lot of games. Sometimes you just have to play to get lucky, and sometimes you do. But you also have to make smart plays. And I think as the Magician player made a couple of misplays, he played pretty well. And so let me know what you guys think about these matches down below. Again, if you guys are interested in the deck that I played, I deck profiled it a couple of days ago. I'll put a link to that in the top right corner of the screen. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I hope you guys saw that Grinder Golem was really good in Trickstars. Like, it was never dead outside of the one game I drew multiples. And even then, it was only dead because I also had the Gamma to work with, so I had a lot of link materials. So Grinder Golem is rarely ever dead. It's not really a bad draw ever. Whenever you have it, you have a play. And pretty much, I think the deck worked very well. Like, the deck did exactly what I thought it was going to do, and the issues that stem in this matchup are from like just inherent things about both players' decks. Like, his deck has a higher ceiling, which allows him to put a lot of big monsters on board. It lets him OTK very easily, allows him to put just, he just has a high ceiling, and that's, you know, hard for this deck to deal with. Trickstars inherently have a low ceiling, which makes it hard to answer his boards and whatnot without cards like evenly matched. And because you play evenly matched, he has to play around that sometimes, and it really allows you to steal a good amount of games. And so, again, no surprises here. Just, you know, that's how the matchup goes. So again, let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, again, like this video, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. If you have any other requests, leave them down below. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.